What's up, Trojans? We're really getting to that time where there's not much to talk about going on with the Giants, but for now, there's still some Saquon Barkley contract talks going on, and the schedule just released. So I'll get to that in a minute, but first, Saquon Barkley, apparently there's some heated negotiations going on there, nothing too crazy, but definitely a very serious back and forth. You notice, like, Dexter Lawrence and Daniel Jones, they got paid very well, and the deals got done in a good amount of time. I don't think there was anything too heated going on there. It may have taken longer than some people thought it would, but, it seemed to be all well and good there. Saquon Barkley's negotiations are really starting to drag out, and it's very interesting to see all of $1 million get fought over for the running back position, but I guess it makes sense. But I think they're getting a lot closer. I mean, the first number that came out from the Giants was 12.5, and now the most recent one I saw was 13 up to 14 with incentives. I think that's pretty close to what both sides would be willing to go in for. I think the Giants are going to have to offer a little bit more than that for Saquon to accept it, but Saquon is really the one that doesn't have much ground to stand on here, so I don't know. I'm hoping he can negotiate that up to 14, call it a day, 3 or 4 years, doesn't really matter. And yeah, it all works out there. I think it will, but hopefully it works out in a fair way for everybody. All right, now on to the good stuff. So the Giants' schedule just dropped. It's nice. It's a schedule, right? Kind of get the bad side of the Jets being a home game. But it's also good because they do have to actually go into, like, the away locker room and everything when they're away. And, the stadium is, like, the Jet Stadium if they're away. So it is still, like, a home atmosphere, but the fans are still going to be split, like, 50-50. So, or whatever the split normally is at a Giants-Jets game. So, not too much help there. But, I do think it is still better to be at home. But anyway, I think the schedule is good. Apparently the Giants were asking for a lot of what you see in the schedule, like the 2 away games on the West Coast there with Arizona and San Francisco. Giants wanted that. A few other games as well. I would not be surprised because the schedule really is in the Giants' favor in a lot of ways. I mean, the bye week, I think, is in an okay spot. It's later than you would want, like, a halfway point. But if the Giants have playoff hopes, that bye week is in the perfect spot. They'll be as rest up as you want to be going into playoffs. So it should be good there. And yeah, I think it's a pretty solid schedule. The opponents are, we've known these for a while, but it's a little bit tougher. But I don't think it's anything the Giants can't handle. In fact, I think the Giants will get like 11 or 12 wins this season, looking at it. That is assuming they overpower a lot of teams that I think they are just better than, but a lot of teams that are, like, close, right? Like a team like the Jets, for example. I think the Giants can beat the Jets, but the Jets, they could be a really good team, so it will be a tougher game. But then I would give them a loss to a team like the Bills or the Niners, for example. Especially the Niners one. That one's Thursday Night Football. They haven't gotten to, like, fully go back home and rest. They're going to have to be on the West Coast still. It's going to be a very grueling process for them right at the start of the season. But once they're through that, I think the schedule's pretty solid. And they wanted that on purpose. So, but yeah, I think the Giants are going to be a good team next season. And I think they're going to avoid this trend that's been going on between the Giants the last several years since I've really been following it, is that they'll have, like, a good year, a very hopeful year. Everyone gets their hopes up, right? We're all excited. We think that next year Giants could go to the Super Bowl, win some playoff games, right? Every time, right? We have this nice even year, like a year like 2016. Giants were 11-5, went to the playoffs. You're like, whoa! If it wasn't Aaron Rodgers there, the Giants could have been good. You think maybe. And if the wide receivers didn't slack off that entire week and go on a boat trip, didn't drop every single pass thrown to them in that game, you think the Giants stand a chance there. You're like, wow, that's a good team. 2017 rolls around and they barely win 3 games. Okay, yeah, we'll do a little reset here. 2018, we'll get the team rolling again. No, I don't think the 2018 team was amazing by any standards, but I do think it laid some important groundwork and everything. And I thought, the Giants that next season, 2019, would take a leap, get up to like 8 wins, be a fringe playoff team, something like that. Nothing of the sort happened in 2019. Fire another head coach. All right. It's all good. We'll get a new head coach in. It's going to be great. All right. Giants almost go to the playoffs in 2020. Shockingly close at 6-10. The Giants almost make the playoffs. Unfortunately, they don't. It would have been fun to see in 2020, but because that was a very interesting team. But all right, the team improves and wins. One more win than 2018. Everything's looking good. Looking up from here. 2021, nope, 4-13. 2022, new head coach, new GM comes in. Giants go straight to the playoffs, win a playoff game even. I thought last year was a pretty good season. Now we're heading into that odd year again. And I think this odd year is actually the one. I may have said this all the other odd years, but this one, there's a couple trends broken here that I want to go over. So, first and foremost, I think has been a big contributor is the reliance on free agents between the Giants teams of the past. Whenever the Giants went to go into those odd years, it felt like they had a ton of big name free agents that were the key contributors on the team. Nothing against free agents, but I don't know what it is, especially with the Giants. We haven't been able to get a ton of free agents going, and I don't know what it is about free agents that makes them less desirable than just having a draft pick pan out really well. But it does seem to be something of a trend here. You look at 2016, that team was built on free agents. And it only got that one good year out of them. And then 2017, it just all fell apart. Coaching also plays a big role, but I want to go over the free agents still. That sort of collapsed in 2017. 2019, I think another big thing that happened there was the Giants traded Odell and then swapped him out for Golden Tate. Golden Tate didn't do that much. And then, a few other guys in there, a guy like Ogletree, for example, not a free agent, but, you're just, Nate Solder's a big one. I think he was signed in 18, but still, these big name free agents are just there. They're coming in. They're supposed to play these pivotal roles, and they're just not. And then 2021, I don't think I need to go any farther than Kenny Golladay on that one. But, you have these huge free agents here that are a part of the team, and they're just not able to keep up with everything. Now, there are a lot of other factors in this as well. Injuries have really hampered the Giants those seasons as well. You think of 2017, it felt like everyone except Eli Manning got injured. 2019... I'm not remembering any huge injuries in 19, but the big thing in 19 also was we had the rookie quarterback, and there definitely were a significant amount of injuries. I'm remembering the Saquon one now. It didn't keep him out the entire season, but it might as well have because it really hampered his production in the rest of the season since he got that injury very early on, too. And then 2021, Daniel Jones gets injured. The Giants were, I believe, 4-7 when Daniel Jones got injured. So you have to figure they would have done much better had Daniel Jones not gotten injured. So injuries play a huge part there. But I think all of these teams could have overcome the injuries they faced. If the team in 2019 was better, they could have dealt with Saquon not being his 2018 self. If the team in 2021 was better, they could have won a game without Daniel Jones. If the team in 2020 17 was coached well. I think it would have gone better, and that's the other big thing that I've noticed. The coaching has regressed. Now, it's tough to tell. I don't think this will happen with Brian Dable, but it is a thing. The coaching has regressed. The head coaches, the Giants head coaches in their second years, just regresses dramatically. Now, I don't know what leads to this, honestly. It's just a weird thing that sort of happens where, like, McAdoo in 2016, like, no issues there. Everything seemed fine. And then come 2017, it's like, what is this guy doing? Pat Shurmur, 2018, everything seems fine. Yeah, all good, whatever. 2019, it's like, why are you not using Saquon properly? Like, you're using him, like, against the injury. What is this call? What is that? What are you trying to do with Daniel Jones? Like, weird things going on. Bad play calling, like, weird stuff. 2021, Joe Judge just absolutely collapsing on the press stand with his rants. His whole demeanor just collapses, is what I meant. And, yeah, it's just regressed. Yeah, it's tough to say what goes into that one. Injuries, I feel like that issue could be accounted for in some way, shape, or form. Free agents, I think, are a very interesting one to analyze in this aspect in the upcoming season. And then we just have to hope that Brian Dable doesn't regress. So, let's put away injuries aside. I'm sure the Giants will have some bad injuries next season. Unfortunately, I don't want them to, but they likely will. It's the NFL. And let's hope Brian Dable, let's say he regresses a little bit maybe. Someone figures out some of his schemes. Would not be surprised if that happens. So he regresses a little bit. But you would have to hope that a guy like Brian Dable is still intelligent enough to be Brian Dable the second year. He had some insane challenges. Like, challenges where I'm like, why are you challenging this? It's what they said. The refs actually got that call right. What do you do? Oh, never mind. I'm an idiot. Okay, thank you, Dable. That happened a lot last season. I want to see more of that. More Brian Dable being way more intelligent than I could ever hope to be on an NFL field. Unlike, some of the coaches of Giants past, where it's like, I think I could make a better call there. It's very unfortunate when that's going on. But, yeah, so assuming Brian Dable, the only bad thing that happens to him is a couple of the teams figure out his schemes a little bit more. I'm sure that'll be a thing. But aside from that, I think the biggest factor going on here are the players we have on the team. The roster is built differently heading into 2023. Now, there's still somewhat of a reliance on free agents, but, that was sort of cherry-picked, that free agents point, in some aspects. I don't think the Giants currently have a huge free agent that is just lagging this team and holding this team back right now. I don't think that's a thing. It was very obvious that it may have been a guy like Nate Solder when he was on the team. It may have been a guy like Kenny Golladay when he was on the team, just really holding the team back, right? And I don't mean that in terms of cap. I think Kenny Golladay was getting paid next to nothing in 2021. But it does in the fact that you want this guy to do something, and the guy's not going to do it. Now, the closest thing I think we have to this on our team right now is Adoree Jackson and Leonard Williams, free agents that could have this result, right? Technically, Leonard Williams was a trade, but he's being paid a lot of money. Adoree Jackson, I think, was a great free agency pickup. I was really happy we got him. But unfortunately, this could be a year where he regresses now. And Leonard Williams, I feel like already started to regress a little bit last season. And that was made up for, in large part, by Dexter Lawrence's Pro Bowl performance last year. So, we would have to assume that the D-line should be fine. I think Joe Schoen has done a lot of excellent work on the defensive line this offseason to set it up for next year. And we have guys like Kayvon Thibodeau coming in who were just drafted, right? He should get better. Ojulari should be solid if he can stay healthy. But you have these guys here that can make up for things. I think one of the biggest issues we've had with those previous teams is you get to a point where it's like, all right, if this guy goes down, there's no one else. And it's not just, oh, there's no one else, like the backup is a huge drop-off, because obviously if you lose your star wide receiver, the backup is a huge drop-off. But this guy goes down, there's no one else's, there's not a wide receiver 2 to throw to. There's not the edge rusher on the other side that can pick up slack. There's not this other guy. I feel like on this team right now currently, there is that other guy at almost every position. Actually, every position that I can think of off the top of my head, except for like a one position thing. Like if Daniel Jones goes down, yeah, we're not going to be doing as good. But for positions with multiple guys, like I was referring to, like a corner, right? So let's say, unfortunately, if Adoree Jackson really regresses or gets injured again, well, you would have to hope Deonte Banks picks everything up and learns quickly. If Ojulari or Thibodeau goes down, you would hope the other one can pick up the slack. If Leonard Williams regresses, you would hope Dexter Lawrence can be really good. Or a guy like A'Shawn Robinson, who I think was coming to be a backup, he may end up being a starter if someone gets injured or something unfortunate like that happens. I guess the one instance I see this, okay, I just thought of it, is safety. The big safety we have on our team is obviously Xavier McKinney. If he were to go down, that would be very unfortunate and really hurt the safety position. The safety position is a very interesting position as it's almost like a quasi linebacker position at times. So I could see some flexibility there, but I think our defense would be really hurt if a guy like Xavier McKinney went down. So hopefully that does not happen. And hopefully the loss of Julian Love is made up for by a guy like Bobby McCain. And I do think that has been another theme that I just now remembered in those odd years as well. That the Giants would lose a guy that you didn't think was a pivotal guy. But toward the end of these seasons, I would be like, did that guy do something that couldn't be replicated? Two examples that immediately come to mind in this. I'm only going off of 3 years, so I think 2 examples is very interesting to bring up, at the very least. Jonathan Hankins in the 2016 season, I think definitely helped out a guy like Jason Pierre-Paul a lot. And then you saw that entire defensive line regress in 2017 with his loss. Now, I don't think that's solely attributed to him. That 2017 defensive line had a lot of injuries. But I don't think it helped. Another big one was in 2021. The Giants lost Dalvin Tomlinson. I think that one is more direct. I think you could point to that much more directly of like, why did Leonard Williams not have the same production? Well, Dalvin Tomlinson wasn't there taking up some of the blocks. Now, we have a guy, Dexter Lawrence, now, that has been really good, and hopefully, I think Leonard Williams is actually the side guy to Dexter Lawrence, the Dexter Lawrence show in that defensive line, so hopefully that operation works out, and if not, I think a guy like A'Shawn Robinson could step in and be really good, hopefully for either of them, but hopefully it definitely does not need to be the case for Dexter Lawrence. The Giants just committed a lot to him, and I hope that works out. Otherwise, yeah, I think this team is set up well. I think there's depth in positions where you need it. I think this team is ready to do something big. Now, there's no number one wide receiver, and that's fine. And I don't think the Giants relied on anything too heavy in free agency in this past offseason. I think Okereke and Campbell are probably the guys that are getting paid the most as free agents from the offseason right now. $10 million a year for a linebacker is a steal. And if a guy like Campbell works out, that is amazing. If a guy like that doesn't work out, well, then he was only $7 million. And I think that's a lot of what's going on with this team is we're not putting all our eggs in the one basket of like, all right, Nate Solder, you're going to be the entire left side of this offensive line. Hey, Kenny Golladay, you're the number one wide receiver now. We need you to really get to work. There's not a guy we're relying on to do that that's a free agent. And that's really what I was getting at with the points before. Now, I think we are doing that with guys that are drafted, but I think that's much more acceptable. Like, if Deonte Banks is a bust, well, that's really going to hurt our secondary. If Kayvon Thibodeau doesn't take a leap, well, that's going to really hurt the defensive line. If Daniel Jones goes down, that's really going to hurt the entire offense. If Saquon Barkley doesn't come back, that's going to really hurt the offense too, or if he gets injured. But if one of the 10 wide receivers we have goes down, well, I think we're fine. Because we're not relying on one guy to do everything there. If a guy like Xavier McKinney, as I mentioned before, if he goes down, we're really hurt. I guess Andrew Thomas on the offensive line would be another guy. But again, these are all guys that were drafted by the Giants. These are guys that really do need to step up anyway to have even a decent team. They've proven that they can do that in the past, and hopefully they can continue to do it next season. Now, the other thing we have to hope for is that Evan Neal gets much better. Even though the team overall declined in a year like 2021, Andrew Thomas got a lot better. Hopefully we see that same thing out of Evan Neal without the team declining. If that is the case, the Giants' offense will be really good because Daniel Jones will have that much more time to throw the ball. And I think a lot of things that happened in terms of this depth and everything in those odd years actually were addressed in this offseason, i.e. getting a guy like A'Shawn Robinson on the defensive line and getting a guy like Schmitz in the draft. 2021, there wasn't a very strong interior offensive line. I think a guy like Schmitz definitely makes up for that. And then you would have to hope a guy like Glowinski or whoever the Giants decide to put at left guard. Maybe Lemieux. I can't think of definitively who will be the left guard right now, but you would have to hope getting a guy like Schmitz in there makes Glowinski's and our left guard's job easier. And if Evan Neal does better, you'd have to hope that would make Glowinski's job easier as well. Because I believe Glowinski is playing our right guard. Now, getting this added depth, a couple new starters, I think it's going to lead to a healthy and prosperous 2023 New York Football Giants. And I hope all the starters are healthy. But that one's tough to tell. I mean healthy in terms of getting wins and everything. And not too much of a drop-off if a guy goes down. I do think that'll be the case. Now, if something very unfortunate happens, like a Daniel Jones going down, for example, that would be a real shame. I do think a prediction of over 10 wins does have to get dropped to 6 or 7 wins. But I do think this team is built with enough depth currently to make up for the loss of one of those big guys going down that I named. Just you get in the territory of 2, things start to get messy. Like if just Daniel Jones goes down, okay, the Giants run the ball more with Saquon Barkley, and everything's fine. But you lose a guy like Daniel Jones and Andrew Thomas. Okay, now we have problems because now there's an edge rusher that can easily get around our offensive line if the backup isn't as good as Andrew Thomas, which the backup obviously isn't. So that would really hurt. And then you're putting that on a backup quarterback. Now, I think Tyrod Taylor's a good QB, but he's not Daniel Jones. And, if a guy like Saquon's out, okay, that's fine. You can get some other running backs moving and stuff. That's all good. But you lose Saquon and Daniel Jones. Okay, well, now you can't just... You don't have a very obvious solution to just, we'll run the ball more. We'll pass the ball more. Same thing on the defense. You lose a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau. You're like, okay. But if you lose like Kayvon Thibodeau and Adoree Jackson and Deonte Banks, or whichever one of those corners is playing better, you lose that. Well, that's going to create some problems because now you're not getting to the quarterback as fast. and then you're just like not covering as well. Dexter Lawrence would be another big one that we can't afford to lose. He was amazing last year on that interior defensive line, and he got paid for it. Again, you lose two of these guys. Now, if you lose a guy on offense and a guy on defense, okay, that would be the one time where maybe you can lose two of the guys I named. Maybe. But yeah, if something like that happens with injuries, the win count's definitely going to get decreased. But I do think overall that the Giants have enough depth, have enough skill, have enough experience to overcome all of the challenges that are going to face them in this upcoming season. And those challenges do include a lot of those away games. All right. See you guys in the next one. Again, give me 11 or 12 wins for the Giants in the upcoming season. And give me 2 playoff wins this time at least.